From Ascension Lightworkers to the Ascension Lightworker Collective, the entire Earth is moving into a new dimension. What happens when a planet changes frequency and what it asks of the human being. A profound transition is taking place upon your Earth. A shift into a higher dimensional reality that will transform not only the planet itself, but the consciousness of those who are here to experience it. This time on Earth was long ago predicted, when humanity would reach a point of evolutionary choice, to continue living through the consciousness of fear, separation, control, and limitation, or to awaken into a higher frequency of conscious awareness. This is a literal dimensional shift, a collective evolution, and a profound transformation in collective consciousness. The message holds a powerful question. What happens to the human being when the frequency of the world around them begins to change? The answer is that we cannot remain who we once were. We are living through a planetary phase in which the old ways of being are increasingly difficult to sustain. Structures built upon fear are now being questioned. Relationships based upon dependency and illusion are being fully exposed. Beliefs once accepted without question are being challenged. And within ascending individuals, something deeper is awakening, a knowing that can no longer be silenced. This is why the ascension process is not just about the earth changing. It is about humanity changing with it. The earth is not the only thing transforming. When we speak about planetary ascension, it can be easy to imagine that Earth is moving into a new frequency while humanity continues watching from the sidelines. The deeper understanding is that Earth and human consciousness are interconnected. As the collective frequency changes, everything that is incompatible with that frequency begins to come into conscious awareness. This happens collectively and within the self. The things that were once tolerated become impossible to ignore. The relationships that once felt comfortable begin to feel energetically misaligned. Old self-identities start to rapidly dissolve. Patterns you thought you had healed can return, because you are now able to see them from a deeper level of consciousness. This is why the ascension journey can feel so paradoxical. The self can feel more expanded and more exhausted at the same time, more source-connected and more humanly alone, more intuitive and yet more uncertain. The self will experience profound moments of knowing, followed by phases where everything seems to disappear. This is not regression, it is recalibration. The inner earthquake. The greatest changes taking place may not be visible from the outside. They are happening within. The human being is transitioning from living through the conditioned personality into a more embodied relationship with the higher self. This requires a profound restructuring of consciousness. The old self was built around survival, around seeking approval, around fear of rejection, around the need to control outcomes, around proving worth, carrying identities that were formed through childhood, trauma, family systems, and societal conditioning. As consciousness expands, these structures begin to lose their power and internal grip, and this can feel deeply uncomfortable for a time, because awakening is not just about becoming more loving. It is about becoming conscious of everything within that is not love. The judgment, the resentment, the fear, the need to be right, the desire to control, the parts of ourselves we would rather not see. This is why the ascension process will bring us face to face with our own shadow. The darkness we encounter is not always evidence that we are moving backwards. It is about what becomes visible when the light reaches places within us that have been unconscious for a very long time. The shadow is not the opposite of awakening. It is a big part of the path into it. Why so many people feel different. Many moving through profound inner transformation describe feeling as though they are no longer belonging to the world they once knew. Conversations feel different. Priorities change. Certain environments become overwhelming. The need for solitude increases. The nervous system becomes highly sensitive. There will be periods of exhaustion, emotional releases, heightened intuition, vivid dreaming, deeper introspection, and an intense need to withdraw from external noise. The ascending experience a loss of identity. They often ask, "Who am I now?" The person I was no longer feels like me. 144 flowing in. But the person I am becoming has not yet fully arrived. This is one of the most misunderstood stages of transformation. There is often a space between identities, a sacred pause. The old self has been dismantled, but the new self is still being embodied. This can feel like emptiness, but emptiness is not absence. It is space being created for something new. The body is part of the ascension. We cannot separate consciousness from the body. The human body is the vessel through which consciousness is experienced. Profound inner transformation will also change the way we experience ourselves physically and energetically. As those ascending become more sensitive and aware, they notice subtle changes in their relationship with their bodies, their environment, their emotions, and their energy. The nervous system becomes more responsive. Rest becomes more necessary. Sleep becomes more sacred. The body may demand greater periods of stillness. Old emotional patterns may surface through the body. The need to live more consciously and authentically becomes increasingly apparent. This is where discernment is essential. Most physical and emotional experiences are attributed to ascension. The physical body still requires care, conscious attention, and practical support when needed. The ascending self becomes more deeply embodied, to listen, to slow down, to honor the body as part of the transformation rather than treating it as something separate from the ascension journey. The collapse of the old world. Earth is moving toward a higher expression of consciousness. The structures built upon lower consciousness cannot remain unchanged forever. This does not mean that everything collapses overnight. It means that what is hidden begins to reveal itself. What is built upon manipulation becomes easier to recognize. What is built upon fear becomes increasingly difficult to maintain. What is false is challenged by what is real. This can create enormous turbulence, and this will be necessary. The old must become fully visible before it can be totally transformed. This is why many feel they are witnessing the simultaneous collapse and birth of worlds. One reality is losing its grip, another is beginning to emerge, and we are standing in the space between them. The shift from believing to knowing, the transition from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, is an extremely significant movement from external authority toward inner knowing. For thousands of years, humanity has looked outside itself for answers, for permission, for salvation, for someone else to tell humanity what is true. The emerging New Earth consciousness asks something different. Can you learn to hear your own inner truth? This does not mean believing every thought or feeling that arises. It means developing discernment, learning the difference between intuition and fear, between inner knowing and emotional reaction, between the voice of the higher self and the voice of the wounded ego. This is where true sovereignty begins, not in rejecting the world, but in becoming increasingly conscious of the energy from which we live. We are not here to escape the earth. One of the greatest misunderstandings of ascension awakening is the belief that ascension means leaving the human experience behind. The opposite is true. We are here to bring higher consciousness into the human experience, to become more present, more embodied, more compassionate, more truthful, to learn how to hold higher frequencies while still living ordinary human lives, to love while remaining discerning, to forgive without abandoning boundaries, to see the darkness without becoming consumed by it, to recognize the illusion without becoming disconnected from humanity. This is the real work. The goal is not to become less human. It is to become a more conscious human being. The earth is changing, and so are we. The shift is not just something happening to humanity. It is something humanity is being asked to participate in. The earth changes, the collective changes. Our relationships change. Our bodies change. Our perceptions change. Our identities change. And eventually, the way we experience reality itself begins to change. The greatest transformation in self is to realize that the world we are waiting for cannot be created by the consciousness that created the old one. A new earth requires a new way of being, and that transformation begins within each individual who is willing to look honestly within, to heal what has been wounded, to release what no longer belongs, to meet the shadow without judgment, to embody and express the higher self, to choose love without losing discernment, to choose truth without becoming rigid, to choose sovereignty without disconnecting from others. The earth is moving into a 5D frequency, and the ascending are transforming with it. Ascension is about becoming conscious enough to help create the next one. The earth is changing. Human consciousness is changing. And within the space between what is ending and what is beginning, we are being asked to become who we truly came here to be, in loving and devoted ascension service from Ascension Lightworkers.